Chris Lynch Local News with Airpark Canterbury. Affordable, secure 24/7 parking near Christchurch Airport. For quality parking, choose airparkcanterbury.co.nz.
So, Peter, enough to scare many ratepayers of Christchurch, particularly with news of a potential rate increase from Ecan of perhaps or even more than 15%. What's going on here?
Well, it is substantial, Chris, and one of the reasons that we've come out early with this is to ensure that people understand that there is some big rate increases heading their way, just with the amount of work that we need to do. So it's important to note that it's a draft budget or long-term plan, and we're after consultation on that process.
15% or even more than that sounds like a hideous amount. Can we blame the previous government for putting so much regulation and projects on the likes of regional councils across New Zealand? Is that part of the problem, Peter?
I think there's a stack of things there, Chris. One is the inflation rate, the CPI, and those things that affect anyone that's in business and paying staff. And then the other thing is that there is some regulatory stuff there that we have to do that's been imposed upon us over the last while, which is not helping the fact that our statutory role here is to look after land, air, and water. And that's what we intend to do, and also run public transport and the harbour master and a whole lot of other functions. So we're just reacting to that and the cost of doing that.
So not everybody is going to be affected by this, but in your view, what you do know is who will be affected by these rate increases or potential rate increases, Peter? Yeah,
so our rates are general rates, which everybody across the region pays, and they're also targeted rates. So like for our flood management and those activities, they're targeted to those people that get the benefit. And therefore, if you also then look at public transport, then in Christchurch, the people of Christchurch who profit from those services, not profit from those services, that's the wrong word, who use those services, that rate is also targeted to those people.
Do we need more assistance from the likes of the central government, or are you in conversation with them? Because with the new government, couldn't some of the issues go, and therefore could we potentially see a decrease of rates with what the new national-led government wants or doesn't want to do?
So that coalition government really hasn't put a foot in the water as far as we're concerned now about that process. So we don't know what changes are coming our way. They're mooted. But until change comes, then we've got to deal with what we've got in front of us. And there's certainly some of that stuff that's been mooted, like the changes into, the Spatial Planning Act and the Natural Built Environment Act will have an effect on us. But we'll have to judge what that effect is when we see it. But we're just playing with what we've got at the moment. We're just dealing with what we've got.
Have you personally had a chance to speak with any incoming ministers from the government about what you want or what you don't want?
No words at all, Chris, with any minister, but we have written to them congratulating them on their positions and put some stuff in there in those letters. The Ministers of Transport, the Minister of, and other ministers about what we would like to talk to them about, and the open opportunity for them to come and talk to us and our council.
What do you say to people watching this now saying Ecan's out of control, over 15%, you're barking mad, we can't do it, we're facing a cost of living crisis, and here's another organisation wanting to hit us in the pocket even more than before?
Well, I guess that's fair. I mean, that's a fair comment that people would make about us, but what we would also say, Chris, is that we would like people that make those comments to engage with us in terms of the things that we have to do and the things that we're responsible for. And as I said, land, air and water, water safety, the harbour master, air quality, all those things that people expect in a modern country, public transport services. We're responsible for those things, and that's what we do. So our job's to do those. And that comes with a cost. Our council have sat down and they've looked at what that cost will be and things they'd like to do, and that's what a long-term plan is. So, that's where the rates rise comes from.
But you made an interesting point in your press release. You said, frankly, and I quote here, "I'm tired of fronting community meetings where I have to ask you, my fellow ratepayers, to pick up the tab for government decisions when we're already contributing to Treasury's tax hike." Extrapolate a little bit more on that for me, if you would.
Well, a lot of what we have to do is we have to react to policy that central government puts in place. And when there's no consultation process on that, but it's a mandated process that we have to follow, then that cost is on us. This regional council has got no other assets other than being able to go to ratepayers and get those funds off ratepayers. I'm not happy about that, but that's the only course we've got in terms of raising funds. If there's another opportunity to have a discussion with central government in terms of sharing some of the money that's collected in taxes, I think we spend like 7 or 8% of the total tax on rates in New Zealand, and central government spends the rest. So is there an opportunity there? Possibly.
Just out of interest, Peter, give me your wish list. Give me perhaps your first couple of wish lists. If you get a chance to speak to the government, and you probably will after being sworn in today, I think, what's your wish list? Because surely on top of that list would be, how do we keep the rates down so we're not punishing everybody in a cost of living crisis?
Well, I think we need assistance with the resilience that our communities require around flooding. Flooding is the biggest single incident that affects people in New Zealand on a yearly basis, and we've seen that with hail and also with Gabrielle in terms of devastation. We've also seen it here in terms of our floods in the Ashburton area. We would like some assistance with that in terms of helping protect communities and also infrastructure. So that'd be the first thing. And we've got a case before central government for funding across New Zealand for that, which we think's got a fair case of getting through. The second thing would be the public transport system that we have here in Christchurch. We think that we've got an obligation to the people of Christchurch to make sure that that's run properly. We think there's an opportunity for us to increase services so that that we can deliver that, a world-class system for Christchurch City, and then looking further into the future about mass rapid transport. Do we need a dedicated bus lane, or do we need a light rail? So what do we do to future-proof Christchurch? And this is an early look at that so that we don't have to retrofit it. So that's that thing. And then there are things that we struggle with in terms of our consenting process. Every time there's a national policy statement or environmental standard, or there's a change to the RMA, or some case law developed, then we get tied up with having to put more and more rules in front of people with consents. I think there's some stuff that we could do with central government to pull some hurdles out of there and speed the process up and take some cost out.
Nicely said. Canterbury Regional Council Chair Peter Scott, really good to speak with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thank you, Chris.